अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रये। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सर्वेभ्यो नमः। सर्वेषां कृते स्वागतम्। We are now in the 10th chapter. In the last class, we did the 32nd shloka of the 10th chapter. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaivaham arjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vadav pravadatamaham. That is where Sri Bhagavan says that of this creation, of the entire creation, I am the beginning, I am the middle and the end. I am everything. Adhyatma vidya vidyanam. Among different types of knowledge, I am spiritual knowledge. Adhyatma vidya. Vadaha pravadatamaham. Among different types of discussion or debate, we talked about three types of discussion and debate from the Nyaya philosophy: Vada, Jalpa, and Vitanda. And among them, I am Vada because the intention of the party is genuine in the case of Vada. So the translation was, O Arjuna, of things in material existence, I am the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Among types of knowledge, I am spiritual knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya. In those who discuss or debate, I am Vada, discussion or debate done with a genuine intention to understand the truth. So this was the 32nd shloka, and today we will do the 33rd and 34th shlokas. In the 33rd shloka, Sri Bhagavan says, Aksharanam akarosmi dvandva-sama sikasya ahamevakshayak kalo dathaham vishwato mukha. So here he says, Aksharanam, among the letters of the alphabet. You see, in every language there is an alphabet. Of course, because he is speaking in Sanskrit, Sanskrit was the dominant language. So he's referring to the Sanskrit alphabet. And in Sanskrit alphabet, the very first letter is A, right? So Akara, Aksharanam, among all the letters in the alphabet, I am the letter A. And elsewhere in the Shastra also, it is said that the letter A or the letter A represents Vishnu. Vishnu is represented by the letter A. Okay, so Akaranam, Aksharanam, Akarosmi. Dvandva-sama sikasya. Samasikam, so samasika means a word which is formed by the combination of more than one word or a compound word. So in Sanskrit and also in Hindi, we have what is called a samasa formation, right? Some of you might have studied in school also. So samasa means when you can combine multiple words to create a single word. Okay, this is a unique feature in some languages, beginning with Sanskrit. All languages don't have it. Like, for example, English doesn't have samasa formation, at least not to the extent in which it is in Sanskrit. So let me give you a very quick overview of this and explain why Sri Bhagavan says dvandva-sama sikasya. So take the example of this word or this phrase, Gangayaha samipam. Okay, this is the original phrase. Gangayaha samipam means near Ganga. Gangayaha means of Ganga. Samipam means nearby. So near Ganga, Gangayaha samipam. And this is combined in Sanskrit by a single word, upagangam. So instead of saying two words, Gangayaha samipam, if I simply say upagangam, that means I'm referring to near Ganga. Okay, so one word replaces two words. So it makes the language more compact, more tight. Okay. So this kind of samas formation is called avyayibhava samas. Avyayibhava samas. Okay, then I'll give you a second example. Take Ramasya Pita. Okay, Ramasya means of Rama, Pita means father. So Rama's father. Now this is combined to become Rama Pita. So instead of saying Ramasya Pita, I can simply say Rama Pita. That means Rama's father. Okay. For example, in English, we don't have this formation. I can't say Rama's father. I can't replace it with Rama father. It'll look like a spelling mistake, right? So, but in Sanskrit, I can do that. I can say Rama Pita. It means Rama's father. So this formation is called Tatpurusha Samas. Then a third example is this. Pitam ambaram yasya saha. Pitam means yellowish. Ambaram means garment. Yasya saha. One of whom or one whose garment is yellow in color. Okay, that's the meaning of that phrase. Pitam ambaram yasya saha. One whose garment is yellow. Okay, now this entire thing is combined into one word, Pitambaraha. If I simply say Pitambaraha, it stands for the same meaning. One whose garment is yellow. Pitam ambaram yasya saha. So several words, we can see that 4 words have been combined into just one word, Pitambaraha. Okay, and this formation, this type of formation is called Bahuvrihi or Bahuvrihi Samas. And finally, I'll give you a fourth example. Let's take 2 words, Sita and Rama. Okay, 2 people are there, Sita and Rama. Sita cha Ramascha. The original phrase is Sita cha Ramascha or Sita Ramascha. So this can be combined into just 2 words or single word, Sita Ramau. If I say Sita Ramau, it means 2 people named Sita and Rama. Or if I say Rama Krishna, means there are 2 people, Rama and Krishna together. Okay, so 2 people, 2 names, instead of saying 2 different words or 3 different words, I have made it one single word. And this kind of formation is called the dvandva-sama, which is what Sri Bhagavan is referring to in this shloka in the Bhagavad-gita. So we have seen 4 types of samas, and Sanskrit consists of these 4 types of samas, very broadly speaking. Within each of these types, there are multiple subcategories and sub-subcategories. Okay, and there are hundreds of examples of variations of samas formation. But these are the 4 broad categories. Okay, now why does Bhagavan pick up the 4th one, dvandva samas, and say, among all the samasas, I am dvandva samas? Okay, that's because now you see in each of them, there is a property of which word from the original phrase gets prominence in the final word. Okay, for example, if you see Gangayaha Samipam, now the first word, it's about Ganga. This phrase is describing Ganga. So Upaganga, when it becomes, it's describing Ganga, means something near Ganga. Ganga is the prominent item in this word. So it is called Purva Padartha Pradhanatvam, means the word which is the first word, Purva Padam or Purva Pada, gets the prominent position in the samas. Look at the second one, Ramasya Pita, becoming Rama Pita. Here, between the 2 words, Rama and Pita, Pita is the prominent word, describing father as somebody's father. Whose father? Rama's father. The prominence is for the father. Rama just stands for a adjective or a describer of the father. So Rama Pita, here it is Uttara Pada Padartha. Second word, Uttara Padam, is having Pradhanatva. Look at the third example, Pitamambaram Yasya Saha Pitambaraha. Here it refers to somebody who is not described here, but that somebody is wearing a yellow garment. Okay, he's described in that manner. We don't know who it is. So therefore, the person or the item which gets prominence is not in any of these words. So it's called Anya Padartha Pradhanatvam. None of these words, it's neither the Pitam, the yellowishness, or the Ambaram, the garment itself, which gets prominence, but somebody else who is not directly mentioned in this word, who is getting the prominence. So Anya Padartha Pradhanatvam. Okay, so we saw Purva Padartha Pradhanatvam, Uttara Padartha Pradhanatvam, and Anya Padartha Pradhanatvam. Now in the 4th category, the Dvandva Samas, Sita cha Ramascha. In this one, Ubhaya Padartha Pradhanatvam, both Sita and Rama. Both the words are equally prominent. Okay, there is equality, and both the words which make up the samas, or which are present in the final samas, are getting equal prominence. So for that reason, Sri Bhagavan says that this is what I like and this is me. I am equal to all. Okay, so Sita Ramau or Dvandva Samas is my representative. It represents my splendor, my vibhuti. Aksharana Makarosmi Dvandva. Ahameva Akshaya Kalo Dhataham Vishwato Mukaha. So here he is referring to kala, time. Ahameva akshayaha kalaha. Okay, so he says, I am that form of time which is indestructible. Akshaya means that which never gets exhausted, that which never depletes. Okay, Kshaya means that which depletes. Kshaya means depletion. Akshaya means non-depletion or something which lasts forever. So I am that form of time which lasts forever. So what is special about this usage in this particular shloka? Now, just a few shlokas back, Sri Bhagavan had also referred to time, and he had there said, Kalaha kalayatamaham. Okay, some of you might recollect this phrase, Kalaha kalayatamaham. So there, he had said that among the things which subdue, I am time. I am time, which is a subduer of everything. So there, the role of time as a subduer refers to, for example, time which depletes. A most obvious example for this is our lifespan. Okay, lifespan is something that is continuously depleting. Okay, it is said that at the time of birth, the amount of time that a person will live is fixed by destiny. This person will live for 40 years, that person will live for 80 years, somebody will live for maybe 120 years, whatever it is. So every day the person is actually losing a little bit of their life. And so that time, the time remaining is always getting decreased. Okay, so therefore that form of time which is referred to there, kalaha kalayatamaham, time which subdues, is time which is continuously decreasing. Jiska shay hota jata hai. Shaya. So that is shayatmakaha kala. Kala which depletes over time. But this kala here being referred to is akshayaha kala. Okay, very interestingly, there are different scholars who have given different interpretations. I've just made some notes on this. So here, one interpretation is Kalaha kalayatamasmi tatra shayatmakaha ayuhu gananatmakaha. The explanation which I just gave now. Samvatsara shatadhyayuhu. Somebody says he will live for 100 years. That kind of time. Swarupa kalaha uktaha tasmin ayushi shine sati kshayate. When the lifespan is decreasing, that decreases. Now, another commentator has said, Samhartrinam madhye mahaakalo rudraha. So he's referring to, for example, if you go to Ujjain, okay, there is the famous Jyotirling there, Ujjain, right? And there, that form of Shiva is called as Mahakal. Shiva is also known as Mahakal. Why? Because Shiva, when the time for destruction comes, wrapping up this universe comes, and that happens at least once in a day of Brahma. At the end of the Kalpa of Brahma, there is a wrapping up of the universe. So it is said that Shiva plays a role in that one. Now, another explanation of the same samhar is Sankarshana. Sankarshana is a form of Vishnu. Okay, he appears as Balaram, for example. And it is said that Sankarshana, in the form of Ananta, he resides in the universe as Ananta Sesha, on which Vishnu is lying. And that Ananta Sesha, he emits fire from his mouth at the same time. And that fire is called Kala. That is the Mahakal. Mahakal means the Kal or the form of Bhagavan which does samhar, which destroys this universe, wraps it up, and then Brahma takes it into his body. And then he again creates the next, at the beginning of his next day. So this is the explanation for Ahameva Akshayaha Kala. Kala is Akshaya, but it causes the Kshaya for everything else. It does samhar for everything else. And that Kala exists eternally. It's always present. Even when everything else gets destroyed, that Kala, that form of time, does not get destroyed. Brahma will continue to live and he will then create again and the Kala will continue. Okay? So one more explanation this Adi Shankaracharya gives. He says, Athava Parameshwaraha Kalasyapi Kalaha. Vishnu is the Kala of the Kala, means he can destroy Kala also. He's beyond that. He's beyond time. Okay, time also comes from him. So that's another way of explaining why Sri Bhagavan here says, Ahameva Akshayaha Kalaha. So multiple explanations have been given by different scholars. And then Sri Bhagavan says, Dhataham Vishwato Mukhaha. So here, Dhata or Vidhata refers to Brahma. Vishwato Mukhaha. In this universe, the topmost Jivatma, the topmost living being is Brahma. And he is responsible for the not only the creation at the beginning of his day, but also the maintenance, in the sense, all the activities. For example, the karma that we do, the karma phala. The living beings do different kinds of karma for which they get different kinds of phala, fruits. So those fruits are awarded by Brahma. He keeps track of that and he awards that, okay, you should get this in this lifetime. Okay, his department does that. He's in charge of that. So Vishvatomukha, he is, you can say, connected to all the living beings. Vishvatomukha, his face is pointed towards all living beings. Okay, he has 4 faces. He's looking in all directions and he's looking at all living beings. Everybody comes under his purview. So he's Vishvatomukha and he's the Dhata. He's the maintainer, sustainer, and also the Vidhata. He gives, he awards the fruits for all living beings. So here, Dhataham Vishvatomukha, I am that Brahma. That Brahma is a form of me, Sri Bhagavan says. Okay, so different ways in which he is pointing to his splendor. In this shloka, he points to 4 different splendors. Aksharanam akarosmi, samasikasya cha, ahameva akshaya kalo, dhataham vishwato mukha. Among all the letters in the alphabet, I am the first letter A. Among types of compound words, I am the dual compound of the dvandva-sama. I am the inexhaustible eternal time Kala, and I am the 4-faced Brahma, the sustainer, nourisher, and bearer, dhata of all the living beings in this material universe, also known as Vishwatomukha. This was the 33rd shloka of the 10th chapter. Now we will do the 34th shloka. Shri Bhagavan says, Mrityu sarvaharashchaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirti shrirvakcha narinam smritir medha dhritikshama. First, he is touching upon Mrityu. Okay, Mrityu, we know what it means. Mrityu means death. Mrityuhu sarvaharashchaham. I am that Mrityu which snatches away everything. Sarvaharaha. Haraha means haranam, haran karna, snatching it away or taking away. Sarvaharaha, that which takes away everything. Okay, I am Mrityu which takes away everything. Okay. So what do we mean when it says takes away everything? Now this is contrasted with what is called as pratikshanika mrityu. Okay, in the commentaries that I studied, pratikshanika mrityu refers to death which happens at every moment. Okay, so this understanding we have heard before, that actually each of us is dying every moment. Right? Even though we say we are living, I have a long lifespan, even the person who's got a very long lifespan, actually, just like I mentioned now, every moment a death is happening. Okay. Now we can look at this from different perspectives. One is the basic perspective that you have a fixed lifetime, and then as the days go by, you cannot bring back what is already past. What is past is already gone. That time is already elapsed. It cannot be lived again. You can only live the future. And so the future is decreasing, and therefore we are dying every moment. Every moment we are going closer to our death. So there is a death happening at every moment. That is one way of looking at it. Another way, if you look at it from the perspective of science, now modern science also says that all the cells in our body, okay, continuously cells are dying and are being replaced. Okay, all the time, because there are millions of cells which make up this body. So every moment, some cells are dying and they are being replaced. There is regeneration because of the food we eat, the exercise we do, etc. That contributes to regeneration of cells, and our body gets, repleted or it gets revived. So now it is said in science that every 7 years or so, the entire set of cells in the body are replaced, which means the cells that we have currently at this point of time in our body, if we go back in time 7 years, we had a completely different set of cells at that time. In the elapsed period of 7 years, all those cells got replaced by the cells we have now, right? So which means all the time death has been continuously happening, and this body that we have now is not the body we had 7 years back, right? For that matter, because cells are dying and being replaced, you can even think that every moment as cells are dying and are getting replaced, a different body is coming. That body that we get every other moment is marginally different from the body we had in the previous moment. Okay, therefore, there is a pratikshanika mrityu. There is a death which happens and a regeneration which happens at every moment. Okay, this is what is called as pratikshanika mrityu. Now, how is this different from this mrityu which is referred to in the shloka, sarvaharascha? Now you can see that as this pratikshanika mrityu happens throughout our lifetime, we are continuously dying. It does not take away everything that we have. For example, I have my property. My property is not taken away just because my cells are getting replaced. I have my name, I have my title, I have my, you can say, my family members. I even have my memory. I can recollect, even if you say that 7 years back, my brain had different cells in it, right? I said everything in the body is replaced, so the cells in the brain also were replaced, which means if the brain was carrying all my memory, then I should not remember anything that happened 7 years before or more than 7 years back. But I can recollect. I can recollect because now I am more than 50 years of age. I can recollect what happened almost 50 years back also. How is it possible? Okay, so that's possible because, of course, that's a different question. That's not connected directly to this. But the point there is that memory is actually independent of the brain. It's not dependent on the brain. In our understanding, in the Vedic understanding, memory is a part of the subtle body, the linga sharira. It's not a part of the stula sharira. Okay, but coming back to this point, our pratikshanika mrityu, the mrityu which happens moment to moment, does not take away everything from us. It takes away the cells, it takes away our lifespan, it decreases our lifespan, but all the things which we have, those things remain. Some of them are lost in course of time. Money is lost, money is gained again. Friendships are lost, friendships are gained again. Something else may be stolen, that will be, replaced or not replaced, whatever it is, but everything is not taken away from me. But this death which is being talked about, the death which happens at what is known as death in colloquial language, at the end of one's birth, end of one's lifespan, at that point, everything is taken away. The Atma leaves the body. We leave our body. We are the Atma in the body. We leave the body. We go to a different body. That body no longer continues in that identity. It's burnt or it's cremated or buried. It's eaten up by insects, whatever happens to it. And we get a completely new identity. Everything is taken away from us, including our memory. Even our smriti, memory, is gone completely. We can't remember a single thing of what we did in our previous life or the previous to previous life. Except in rare cases. In rare cases, there are instances where people report that, they could recollect something that happened, or they behave in certain ways by which people are able to infer that they are able to recollect something from the past life. In fact, connected to that point, there was a researcher. You can Google on this. I think his name is Ian Stevenson. You can Google and tell me. Professor Ian Stevenson, I think, of University of Virginia in the US, whose entire life, his entire research in his lifetime as a professor was on reincarnation. And he wrote several books. He gathered nearly 3,000 cases of evidence of reincarnation. He found children with some birthmarks and remembering certain incidents that happened in the previous life, and using the help of the people around those children, he tried to trace what they were in the previous birth, and he reported that this is the findings. So in some cases, there have been instances of people remembering their past birth, but generally speaking, among the billions of people we see, among 8 billion people we see in the world, almost nobody remembers what happened earlier, right? Which is a good thing also, because if we remembered what we did in our past life, then we probably won't be able to live peacefully, right? So Sri Bhagavan arranges that we don't recollect anything. Instead, we live a fresh life, and we can do a lot of good things in this fresh life. Now, there are some very interesting discussions. You see, in our Shastra, a lot of discussion revolves around the idea of death, because death is not considered as something morose or something to be not talked about, something that normally in today's society, we don't like to talk about death, right? When we hear about death, we just say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And we quickly change the topic. We go to something else. It's something unpleasant. But our Shastra doesn't consider discussing death as something unpleasant. Rather, it considers discussing death as something very important. Why? Because the whole objective of our Shastra is to elevate our existence from what we are currently to a better existence in the future. Now, All that is based on the very basic understanding that our life is not the only life. The life that we are living now is not the only form of existence that we have ever had, or that we will continue to have, or that our existence will cease when we die. No, we are eternal. Okay. In all the Shastra, not only in Vedanta Shastra, but everywhere, in Sankhya, Yoga, even in Niti Shastra, the recognition that we are eternal is present, that we go from one life to another life. And that is why Dharma revolves around doing good things. Dharma revolves around doing good things. Why? Because by doing good things in one lifetime, we get a better birth in the next lifetime. We get a better existence. And by continuing to do good in that life too, then we get an even better existence in a future life, right? So thereby we are happier and happier in future lives. So this understanding carries forward throughout. And therefore, discussion or education about death and how to meet death. Death is not considered something to be frightened about. Rather, death is something to prepare for, just like we prepare for exams, right? Exams are things that we are supposed to prepare for. Similarly, death is something that we are supposed to prepare for and not plan to avoid. Avoidance of death is not taught in our Shastra. Preparation for death is what is taught in our Shastra. Okay, and that is how the whole orientation is. So here in the Mahabharata, this is a famous, often quoted thing, and I will quote it again. This is the Yaksha Prashna. As you know the story, where during the Vanavas, towards the end of their Vanavas, the Pandavas, they are in a situation where they're searching for something and they feel thirsty. And I think Yudhishthira says, I'm thirsty and please get me some water. So one of the brothers, I think Sahadeva, goes first. And then he goes and he finds a very beautiful lake. And as he drinks the water in the lake, he becomes unconscious and then he apparently dies. And then searching for him, Nakula goes, and the same thing happens to Nakula. Then I think Bhima goes, Arjuna goes, one by one they go. And after some time, Yudhishthira finds that none of the brothers have come back. So he himself goes. And then he finds that this beautiful lake, but all the four of them are lying dead on the side of the lake. And he becomes very morose. He starts lamenting. He says, what happened here? And then he hears this voice from the tree above. Yaksha is standing there and he says, I'm, the one who caused the death because they drank water from my lake. Now, you are also going to die. I'm going to kill you also. And the only way you can save yourself is to answer my questions. I'm going to ask you some questions now. And if you answer them correctly, I will let you go. Otherwise, you're also going to die. So saying this, the Yaksha challenges Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira is ready and he takes it on. He says, I'll try to answer your questions. So very interestingly, there is a viva there. Okay, there's a viva was. Yaksha Prashna is actually a viva. It's an extempore viva without any preparation. No time is given to prepare. So he asks him question after question. It's very interesting, this chapter. There are more than 100 questions in all. Okay, probably 120, 130. Question after question after question he is asking, and it's back and forth. As he asks the question, Yudhishthira gives an answer. And it goes on and on. And the last shloka, the last four questions that he asks are these. Ko modate kimascharya kaf pantaha kacha vartika. So in that, what we are interested in for this particular discussion is this question, the second of these four questions, kimascharya. Kimascharya means, what is surprising? What is it that is surprising? What is the cause of surprise? Okay, when he asks this question, to this particular question, Yudhishthira answers like this. He says, Ahanyahani bhutani gacchanti ha yamalayam sheshaha sthavaramicchanti kimascharya ataf param. He says. Keep in mind that he is describing the state of people's thinking at that point of time when dharma was prevalent and people were educated in their past life, future life, and so on. Not today. So he's saying, Ahanyahani, day after day, every day. Ahanyahani means every single day. Bhutani, living beings, gacchanti iha yamalayam. They go from here to the abode of Yama. Means every single day people are dying. Every single day people are dying on this earth or in our society. But Sheshaha, the remaining people, those who are not dying, those who are remained alive, Stavaram ichanti. They desire to live forever. Stavaram ichanti means they are thinking in their mind that death will not come to me. I am going to live forever. Even though they are educated in death, they are told about death, they live as if death will never come to them. Stavaram ichanti, kim ascharya matav param. What can be more surprising than this? Is there anything more surprising than this? He's asking the Yaksha. Okay, this is the most surprising thing, that even though we see death in front of us, we don't prepare for it. We are not concerned about it. We are not worried about it. We're just living life. We are planning our life in such a manner that we are going to live here eternally in this way, right? So think about it. Think about the implication of this, particularly in today's society, when we consciously avoid discussing death also, right? Those who are aware of dharma and so on may actually keep thinking once in a while, at least once a year, they may think that one day I'm going to die. But the others who don't even think like that are all the time thinking, how can I expand my property? Even a man in old age, even a man who is, say, 85, 90 years of age, health is failing, everything is failing, will go to the court and fight over a big property, even if he has 10 other properties. Okay, he's not thinking that I may die any moment. Although all the time you open the newspaper, the front page of the newspaper will report at least 10, 12 deaths. Something, an accident happened here, this happened here, somebody got killed, somebody was shot dead, terrorists came and attacked and dropped a bomb somewhere. You can count how many deaths are reported on the front page of a newspaper. Open the front page, you'll see so many deaths there. Death is all the time glaring at us, but we think it will never come to us. A beautiful example. Okay, the point is that we should keep that in mind as we plan our life. Now, how should we live our life? Vairagya Shatakam. This is written by Bhartrhari. If the FPM scholars recollect, just a week back or so, I sent a mail with a shloka from Bhartrhari's Niti Shatakam. Okay, that was Uttama. What is the definition of the Uttama, right? Now here, from the same author, Bhartrhari, Vairagya Shatakam. From Vairagya Shatakam, that's one of his 3 books, the 3 famous books. Vyagriva tishtati jara paritarjayanti rogascha shatravaiva praharanti deham ayuh parisravati bhinna ghatadivambho lokas tathapi ahitamacharati iti chitram. So he's also describing something that he thinks is very surprising in this world. What is it? He says, Vyagriva tishtati jara paritarjayanti. Old age stands like a tigress. Vyagri means a tigress. Old age is standing in front of us like a tigress, threatening us all the time. Anytime soon, each of us will become old, and we have to go through that phase, that horrible phase called old age. Rogascha shatravaiva praharanti deham. Diseases are constantly striking our body like enemies. Rogascha. Rogaha means diseases. Shatravaha, like enemies, they are constantly striking our body. Praharanti deham. Ayuhu parisravati. Life is oozing. Parisravanam means oozing out of bhinna ghatadivambaha. Like a pot with a hole in it. Okay, if there's a big pot of water, let's say, with a small hole in it, even if the hole is very small, you'll see water dripping out of it. Drop by drop, the water is falling out of the pot. And eventually, at some point of time, the pot will be empty of all the water. So in the same way, our life is oozing out of us. So if you think of ourselves as a pot, every moment, like we just said, life is oozing out. Every moment, we are dying. Ayuh parisravati bhinna ghatadivambho lokas tatapi ahitamacharati iti chitram. Despite all this, people are doing adharma. Ahitam means that which harms others. Hitam means that which is good for others, welfare. Hitam means welfare. Ahitam means opposite of welfare, opposite of beneficial things, harmful things. Despite all these 3 things, people engage in harmful activities. They harm others, they harm themselves, right? And this is really chitram. Chitram means ascharya. It's so surprising. Despite seeing all this, despite seeing that they themselves are getting depleted every moment, they are going to die anytime, they engage in activities that are harmful to others, harmful to themselves, creating future suffering for themselves. Okay, this is very surprising. The whole point being made here is that we should live every moment of our life only in a manner that elevates us. We should not do anything that degrades us. Anything. Sacrifice it. Sacrifice anything that is bad for us. And what is the best way to do good for ourselves? The best way to do good for ourselves is to do good to others. Paropakar, selflessness is the best form of selfishness. By doing good things to others, good naturally comes to us. This is the simple message of our dharma. Okay. That's why mrityuhu sarva haraschaham. At the point of death, everything is taken away from us. Only thing left with us that is not taken away, that goes with us, is the papa and punya that we have done, or the seva that we have done. That will go with us. Okay. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. Udbhavascha bhavishyatam. Okay. Udbhavascha bhavishyatam. So now bhavishyatam means of all the things which will happen in the future. So here it refers to what happens to a living being as the living being goes through a lifetime. Okay, so after death, what happens? The living being takes birth again, has one more birth. And in that birth, what happens? There are 6 transformations. So it's said that the stula sharira, the gross body that we have, goes through 6 vikaras, shad vikara. So what are the shad vikaras? This is from the book known as Tattva Bodha of Adi Shankaracharya. So he writes, Asti vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati. Asti means that which potentially exists. So the most basic vikara is the vikara of existence. The stula shariram exists through a lifetime. And in the course of that existence, it is first born. It comes into existence. That is the first stage of existence. Jayate, vardhate, grows, viparinamate, means it transforms as it grows and then eventually matures to some form. Viparinamate, matures, and then apakshiyate, it decays, and vinashyati, it gets destroyed. So everybody's body goes through these 6 transformations. So among those 6 transformations, udbhava, Shri Bhagavan says, I am that particular thing known as jayate, udbhava, generation, creation, bringing into existence. Udbhavascha bhavishyatam. Okay, of the things which are going to happen in the future, I am generation, or I am creation. And then he says, Kirti Shrir Vakcha Narinam Smritir Medha Dhritikshama. So Narinam, of women, among women, I am these 7 vibhutis. He lists 7 vibhutis here. Everywhere else he has listed only one vibhuti. But when he's talking about women, he's identifying 7 different vibhutis which make a woman, you can say, attractive or an inspirational figure to others. Okay, if a woman has one or more of these qualities, she attracts others to herself, or she inspires others to live a better life themselves. Okay, so what are those 7 qualities? The first of them is kirtihi. Kirtihi means fame. Okay, a famous woman. Okay, now we can interpret each of these words in our own way, but here I found the commentary of Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana, in which he interprets these in a specific manner. Because you see, this is all rooted in our Sanskriti. It is not rooted in just something arbitrary. It's definitely not rooted in the way Westerners look at it, right? It's rooted in our Samskriti, how our dharma looks at this. So when our dharma uses the word kirti in the context of, let's say, inspirational quality, then what does it mean? It means this. Kirti means dharmikatvadi sadgunya khyatihi. When a woman is known as a dharmika woman, she's known as a person who practices dharma. She's known as a dharmika stri. Okay, in society, she's known. People talk about her as she follows dharma. She's very strict about her. Take, for example, Gandhari. Gandhari was known as a pativrata, right? The moment she heard, that famous narrative how, she was, her alliance was fixed with Dhritarashtra by the people who came from Hastinapur. So Bhishma sent his ministers or a group of people to talk to her father and her brother, and they fixed the alliance. And at that time, they revealed that this person, Dhritarashtra, the bridegroom, is actually blind, he can't see. The moment she heard that her alliance has been fixed with somebody who's visually handicapped, what did she do? She took a piece of cloth and she said, if my husband is not capable of seeing anything, I will also not see anything. Closed her eyes. Okay? I'm not saying that women today should do that, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that look at this woman's thinking, her mentality. This is called pativratya, the property of pativrata. Okay, this may not apply today. This kind of thinking is practically impossible to practice today. So I'm not advocating that. But I'm only saying that these kind of qualities existed in women at that point of time. And they became famous for the way they adhered to dharma. They went to any extent to say that we will uphold dharma at any cost. We will not compromise on dharma at any cost. It's another matter that the same Gandhari had to give birth to children who were adharmic in nature. That's a different thing. That cannot be blamed on her. Right? She was very dharmic and she was famous for that. She was very famous and all glories to her. Kirti. Okay, this is the kind of fame. Not the fame for being, let's say, a very rich person or something like that. Okay, that comes later. That's also part of a woman's, vibhuti. Kirtihi. Shrihi Vakchanarinam. Shrihi, the second property is Shrihi. Shrihi refers to Trivarga Sampat Kaya Dutihiva. Trivarga Sampat. Trivarga Sampat means the three vargas. Okay, there are four vargas actually, the four purposes of human life in our Shastra: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Okay, Dharma refers to the following of the Shastra, understanding what is right and wrong, morality, righteousness. That is called Dharma. Artha means following the principles of Dharma, acquiring material wealth. Okay, material possessions, money, richness, etc. is Artha. And through Artha, after acquiring Artha by following Dharma, engaging in sensual pleasure, different types of whatever sensual pleasures, that is called Kama. Okay, again, Kama is to be acquired in a dharmic manner, not adharmic Kama. Following the principles of Dharma, sensual enjoyment is permitted. Okay, so these are called the Trivargas: Dharma, Artha, and Kama. And Trivarga Sampat refers to a person who has this, or the form of wealth, which includes all the three of them, where a person has Dharma in their life and also has money because of following Dharma, and is also able to enjoy the different sensual pleasures through love. Okay, sensual pleasures are possible when there is love in the life of somebody. Somebody has other people with whom they have a loving relationship, whether it's their spouse or their parents or whatever. Through that, different forms of sensual happiness come. So here in this shloka, Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana explains that the word Shri refers to this form of sampat. When a woman has this, then it is a vibhuti. Sri Bhagavan says this is one of his vibhutis. The third is vak. Okay, vak means speech, literally. So what is he referring to? He says sarvartha vyanjaka vak samskrita bhasha. So here it refers to a woman whose command over language is excellent. When her command over Samskrita Bhasha, or maybe whichever other Bhasha, maybe she didn't know Sanskrit, but she knows Hindi, or she knows her mother tongue extremely well. She's a scholar in that, and she can speak fluently in that language. Then Vak. And Samskrita Bhasha also not only means Sanskrit language, but it means cultured language. A woman who speaks language which is refined, which is respectable, not using filthy words, using language which doesn't insult other people, which is gentle, which is respectful, which is noble. That kind of language is called Samskrita Bhasha. Samskrita Bhasha does not necessarily mean Sanskrit language. It means language in any other, speech in any other language which is of this nature, which is of good quality. Okay. So Kirtihi Shrir Vakcha. Three qualities we saw. Smritihi Medha Dhritikshama. Smritihi refers to literally memory. And here it means Anubhutartha Smarana Shaktihi. Whatever one has experienced in the past, being able to recollect the experience and learn from that experience. That kind of smriti. Smriti which teaches somebody. Positive smriti. Okay, smritihi. Medha. Medha refers to intelligence. Bahushastrartha Avadharana Shaktihi. Bahushastrartha Avadharana Shaktihi is medha. After reading a lot of literature, Shastra, one who can recollect that and one who can act by that, one who can cite that in one's life and tell others how one is acting in terms of that, or tell others how to act in life, advise others on the basis of Shastra. Okay, that is called medha, intelligence. Bahushastrartha Avadharana Shaktihi, to be able to withhold that knowledge and to be able to act on that knowledge. That is medha, intelligence. Dhritihi. Dhriti refers to Chapalya praptau tan nivartana shaktihi. Dhriti literally means being steady. Okay, steady, firm, unshakable. Okay, that is the meaning of dhriti, the general meaning. And here, Sri Baladeva points out, it refers to the property when, even if one sometimes, becomes, let's say, fickle. Okay, there are sometimes in everybody's life, okay, in every person, whether it's a man or a woman, there are times when, uh, it becomes very challenging. There are difficult times. Okay, somebody very close to us dies, or something that we have been trying hard for a long time doesn't come through. We fail in that project. Okay, it gets crashed, or something else happens. We lose our job. We've been doing the job very well, but suddenly something happens. There's some politics, and we lose the job. So things go wrong, and sometimes because of such disturbing circumstances, the mind can become fickle and we can become disturbed. So now, in that stage, if a person can bounce back, okay, that's also called resilience, the property of being able to bounce back, pick oneself up and continue. That indicates dhriti, the property of dhriti, the subtle property of dhriti existing in that person. That person had the ability to go through that difficult time without losing themselves. They could pick themselves up and again come back to a path of steadiness, right? That is called dhriti. And finally, shama. Shama means literally tolerance, or there are two other meanings, forgiveness, or you can say patience. All these kind of meanings come when the word shama is used. For example, the Mother Earth is also called a shama because she tolerates us. We do a lot of things. We dig holes in her. We, build big structures. We dirty her. We do anything we want. We drop bombs on her, but she tolerates. She doesn't complain. Right. So here Sri Baladeva says, Harshecha Vishadecha Prapti Nirvikara Chittata. Not getting carried away, either when there is difficulty or when there is happiness. Okay, there are two, these are considered actually both forms of disturbance. Happiness is also a disturbance. Sadness or misery is also a disturbance. Both disturb our mind, right? But a person who is steady in both, who does not lose their sense of purpose, who does not lose their sense of gravity, their sense of focus on their job. Okay, it's not like, okay, something very successful happened, then the person lets lose everything in their life, goes and indulges themselves, and then they forgot where they started out with. Doesn't happen. So when there is happiness or when there is sadness, the person is able to remain grave, in control, and continue doing what they were supposed to be doing, remain on the path. So that is the meaning of shama. Tolerate both success and failure. Tolerate not only success, not only failure, but also success. Success also is something to be tolerated. Kirti Shrirvakcha Narinam Smritir Medha Dhritikshama. So when these seven qualities are present, if all the seven are present, then that woman is an inspirational figure. She's very attractive. But even one of them, if it is present, then that is a vibhuti, that's a splendor you can see in that person, and that represents me, Sri Bhagavan says. Okay. Now the question of why is this meant to be seen only in women? Absolutely not. This applies to men also, and every human being should actually cultivate these qualities. I think why Bhagavan is saying that in women this stands out, because I think probably because even more than men are expected to have more than this, not just this, but they're expected to also show paurusham, or things like, for example, courage, manliness, okay, shouldering big responsibilities, being the head of the family, etc. Right? So the men have not only these, but even more than that. So in some other shloka, Sri Bhagavan says, Paurusham Drishu. In the 7th chapter, he says, I am that Paurusham. Paurusham means Purushata, the sense of being a man, what defines a man, his manliness, his being in the forefront of things, taking responsibility for the family, leading from the front, right? Being answerable for anything that happens in the family, etc. So this is expected for a man, and I think these things are already implied. They're already. It's not that these are only for women; these are also applicable to men, in my understanding. So Shri Bhagavan says, "I am death, which takes everything away, and I am birth, udbhava, in what is to come. In women, I am fame, kirti, wealth, beauty, charisma, Shri, cultured and refined speech, vak, memory, smriti, intelligence, medha, steadiness, dhriti, and tolerance, shama. So this is the 34th shloka of the 10th chapter. And for today, I will stop with this. We have done 2 shlokas today, and we have seen several vibhutis. In the first shloka, we saw 4 vibhutis of Bhagavan, and now we saw 7 plus 2, 9 vibhutis are covered here. Okay? And we have a few more shlokas left where Shri Bhagavan will continue to tell us about his vibhutis. And then we will end the 10th chapter with that. So on the whole, the Gita is telling us about how to develop, these kind of qualities in us, which will take us to a better form of existence in the future. Of course, I spoke about punya and papa today, but even higher than punya and papa is what is called as seva, doing seva and attaining yoga. By attaining yoga, we go beyond punya and papa and we get an eternal existence, an existence of eternal knowledge, eternal consciousness, eternal happiness, and so on. And that is the highest message of the Bhagavad-Gita. I will stop with this and I'll take your comments, questions, etc. Those online also, please feel free to ask your questions.
So I had a question.
Rajpreet, yes.
Yes, sir. So thank you for the interesting session. So when you spoke about the body changing in every moment because of the cells dying and replenishing, now if we look at it in terms of, there is certain part of the memory that you spoke about, which is the subtle body. So I'm assuming that the memory is still there because of the soul nature of the self, because there is a soul which is beyond the physical brain. So while the body is changing every moment, we are still able to remember. It doesn't change fully in every moment. I understand that over a period of time the cells get completely replenished, but we still remember it because of that subtle body. But I was just thinking that at the time of death, because we even forget that memory and the Atma still remains. So is it that even that subtle memory is connected in some way with the physical body, and hence till the time that is associated with the physical body, that subtle memory remains? So that's what I'm sitting with right now. I hope I could explain myself.
Let me explain my understanding based on Vedanta. According to Vedanta, we don't have a soul. We are that Atma. The English word is soul, but I'm using the word Atma because that's the word used in the Bhagavad Gita. So I don't translate Atma as soul, but we are that Atma. It's not that we have an Atma. We don't have an Atma. We are the Atma. Our identity is the Atma. And we have a body, or we have 2 bodies, very broadly speaking. This Stula Shariram, this gross body, and the Linga Sharira, or the subtle body, Sukshma Shariram. So that Sukshma Shariram is what is carrying our memory. It carries our memory from one birth to another birth, or it lies in a subconscious manner. It lies in a subtle manner in that subtle body. And it's not brought to the conscious mind when we take a birth again. Okay, so now it manifests in our conscious, in our consciousness, you can say awareness, through the gross body, to the Stula Shariram, when we have a particular birth. In this birth, for example, we have this brain and this body. So at that time, the brain gets used. The memory does not reside in the brain. It gets used to experience memory. The awareness of that memory happens through the brain. But the memory is essentially lying in that Sukshma Shariram. That Smriti lies there. And that is how in some cases, in those rare cases when it is sanctioned, that Atma remembers their past birth. Those rare instances where memory of past birth comes.
So
Rajni,
that's quite yes, so that's a very convincing argument that you have shared.
okay.
So if I've understood it correctly, so I am that soul and I have two bodies that you spoke about. So because from the unconscious, which means that from the subtle body to the physical body, the memory is retrieved to the till it becomes in the conscious awareness. When we say conscious awareness, that moment we bring the physical body into picture. So
Yeah,
when we die, because the physical body is not there,
yeah,
hence the memories remain in the subtle body, which is then transferred to another body. But because the physical brain of the other body perhaps is not able to fetch in most of the cases, in 90% of the cases, hence we do not remember it. But
yeah,
in certain cases, as you were speaking about the studies done, they are able to retrieve it because it is still there in the unconscious subtle body.
yeah. So according to their karma, that is their karma which decides, in this karma and smriti and all these things go with the linga sharira. The linga sharira goes with the atma. And the atma leaves this stula shariram and goes into another stula shariram, takes birth again in the womb of another mother. The linga shariram goes with the atma until it gets mukti. Only when it gets mukti, eventually, whenever it gets mukti, until that point of time, the linga shariram remains with the atma. At the point of mukti, the linga shariram also gets discarded. It's destroyed. So the mukta atma, the mukta jivatma does not have that linga shariram. It doesn't need it also. It's completely free of that also. You understood?
Yes, sir, I understood, sir. That's so. In fact, today I think I've understood. I must say that. So thank you for this. Thank you.
Yeah, Anjana, yes.
So while we were discussing about the preparation for death, so you brought about an example that so there are some land disputes. So there are some land disputes in a family, and so we don't take our material belongings when we leave and when we die, but still while we are alive, we do fight for it, and we do our what is required to do. So I just wanted to ask here is that while we talk about Karam Yoga and we talk about the duties that we are supposed to, so while we are alive and we are a part of the family and we assume some responsibilities as the member of this that family, so will that be considered of being materialistic in that situation, or will it be a part of our duties that we are bound to do and we are doing it, whether it is a favorable one, an easy one, or a tough situation? Um, and also if we are indulging in that, uh, in carrying out that duty, will that count as preparing for death, or will it not count as preparing for death?
It's a very good question. It's a very practical question also. It's about, he says, because I said about even in the old age, a man may be fighting for his property. So the question is, let's say if somebody is practicing karma yoga, then isn't that his responsibility to fight for his property? Should we consider that to be something inappropriate? Shouldn't he do his duty to protect his family and so on? Now, this question actually, to understand this, we have to know what is meant by dharma, what is its objective, and what is the consciousness with which we do our different duties. Now, if a man's consciousness, or a woman or a man, if a person's consciousness is oriented towards elevating themselves by doing paropakar, if they are living for the purpose of paropakar, and keeping in mind that whatever I'm doing for the benefit of others in that consciousness, and he is fully aware that this is not mine, this is not for me, I don't want anything personally for myself from this, I'm doing it as a matter of duty only, right? Everything is an offering to Bhagavan. If he is genuine in that, then yes, it will elevate him. But if that person is doing it out of their ahankara, Their identity, they are not thinking, they have no awareness of the fact that their life is very temporary. They're going to live only for a short while, and any moment death can come. But they only think that, I'm getting insulted by my property not coming to me, this and that. And they're looking at everything in terms of their ahankar only. Then obviously they're not doing yoga. So the same action can be either in karma yoga, or it can be completely materialistic, completely drowned in materialism, whereby it degrades the person. So the action by itself is neither correct or wrong. It's the mentality which decides where it is. It's the awareness or the consciousness with which the person does the activity, which decides on which path they are going. They're going upwards or they're going downwards. Do you get it? And for that applies to any activity in general, not only to this particular activity of fighting for one's property, but to any activity we do. For example, preparing for our own thesis. We are now working on our thesis, right? We have to finish our thesis. So we're reading papers, collecting data. So all that activity also, depending on the mentality with which we do the activity, it can elevate us spiritually or it can degrade us, depending on what we look at it as. You understand? That's the difference between yoga and not yoga.
So there's a
Yes, follow-up question. Yes, please.
So because you brought out a very interesting context, which is relevant to all of us, would you like to throw some light upon in our context, what kind of work will elevate us and what kind of mentality will?
Exactly. So the natural follow-up question, which I knew will come because it lent itself to that, whatever I said, is how can a FPM student, a person who's doing their doctoral study, elevate themselves in yoga? How can they get into the mentality of yoga, even as they're doing their PhD work? Because after all, they're doing something that looks very materialistic, right? You're dealing with a completely material problem, and you're writing something that is only applicable. You're not writing about God, for example. So should I do my research only in the field of religion to be able to to elevate myself? Not at all. So whatever you're doing, whatever work you're doing, you do it as a matter of duty. Okay, any activity for that matter, when the person's awareness is that I am a small fragment in the larger universe, I'm just a part of God. Everything in this world belongs to God, right? Everything belongs to Sri Bhagavan. And I'm just a fragment of that Bhagavan. Everything that happens around me is controlled by him, is run by him. And I'm living my life in a manner, or I want to live my life in a manner that is pleasing to him, that makes him happy, that is in accordance with dharma. Okay, so what are the basic principles of dharma? For example, to act in a manner that benefits other people, that is of welfare not only for myself, but to the larger society, which does good to society. To be honest, to be truthful, to be non-violent, right? To be controlled, to not indulge in excessive sensual pleasure. There are various principles of dharma, various limbs of dharma. So regardless of what duties one performs, if one follows the principles of dharma and lives and conducts those duties in accordance with those principles, then one elevates oneself. And this is possible for a PhD student also. It's possible for a professor, it's possible for a student, it's possible for a staff member. Anybody can do this, right?
And same act of thesis or any research journey, we do it in the contrary, that will lead to different
Exactly.
outcomes.
Yeah. So for example, after getting my thesis, now I get a PhD degree out of this. So why am I getting a PhD degree? So that I can get a job. With the job, I can support my family members and so on. And I can then practice dharma even better. I can practice the principles of dharma even better. I can connect myself with God even better, being in that position. Right now, as a student, I have so many limitations. I have to live in a small room in the hostel. I have limited amount of space. I have limited amount of money. I have limited amount of time. But when I become, let's say, a professor or something in the future, then probably I'll get more time. I'll get more space. I'll get more freedom, more power to do things. I'll use my power for doing good things. I'll help people with my power. I'll help people live more dharmic lives. I will learn more about dharma and teach more about dharma to others. I'll make people more aware about the existence of God. So if I'm using my PhD as a means to that destination, then I'm now doing yoga with my PhD, right? Whenever I can practice kindness, let me practice kindness. So this can be done with any occupation, right? Including being a PhD student. You can add to this, whatever I said, building on the same principles I said now.
I was just trying to relate this to the example of land boat case. So
Right.
you were saying that if you are materialistic in your approach,
Yeah.
that will not count as preparation of death.
Yes.
So I was just thinking, on the contrary, here when we are doing like our work and we are dedicating ourselves to it, then what exactly is something that will not count as preparation of death? Is there anything? I was just trying to understand. Is there anything which will not count, which will count as materialistic, or which will count as
Something that's done out of greed, which is done out of hatred, any action done out of excessive greed. For example, I'll give you a very simple, practical example. Let's say there's an opportunity to go to a conference, okay, in some developed country like the US or China or the UK or something. Now I can go with two types of mentality. I can go with the thinking that anyway the institute is giving me so much money. Conference mein to acceptance to ho hi jata hai. Anything you write, some conference will accept it, except a few conferences. Most conferences accept anything you send. They don't even read what you have written, right? So you can see the conference as an opportunity for sensual enjoyment, as some people do. Or you can see the conference as an opportunity for doing your work in a better manner. Now, if I go to the conference, my PhD can be taken to the next level. I'll do very serious work. I'll go to the conference only if I'll even submit. I'll make a submission to the conference only when I have done really good work. And when I go to the conference, I'll present my best work so that the people who are there will like it, will appreciate it. And not just for my getting appreciation, but people will say this guy has come from a good institute. They'll get a good impression of my institute. Thereby, I'm doing a service to my institute. They will get a good impression of my country. If somebody from India has come and done great work, they'll get a good impression of India, right? And I will get the best input so that my PhD will become the best possible from that. So I will use all the money that the institute is giving me for getting the best quality into my PhD. That thinking is dharmic thinking. On the same hand, the other person who's coming with you, suppose they are thinking that, this is a great opportunity for sensual enjoyment. In fact, even if I don't make a presentation, if I'm absent in the presentation, nobody will know. Because who is coming here to watch me? Nobody will come and take attendance here. Attendance to sirf campus mein hota hai. So here I can do whatever I like. I've come here, I can go freak out. So if somebody is going with that mentality, they are degrading themselves from the perspective of dharma. So now I've given you a concrete example. So anything done with greed, hatred, lust is adharma. Anything done with, making a sacrifice of oneself with the intention of sincerity for doing something good, elevates oneself, is dharma. Simple, isn't it? Yeah. So that's why it's inspiring. It inspires us because it shows us that by being that way, we have a better future. We're creating a better future for ourselves. It's not only because the institute is watching you. It's not out of fear of the institute that you will do good, but it's out of an intention to live a better life in the future and to also take others to that life. That inspiration is what drives you to do dharma, not the fear of some authority watching you or something like that, right?
because many times a lot of autonomy is on us only.
Yes.
There is a limit to management as well. Like we can't micromanage our small activities.
Yes.
There might be incidences when we are present in the library, we are working, and the images that we are working, but only we can know that how relevant what we are doing is and how fruitful it is adding to our journey or otherwise.
Yes.
So there is a limit to managing as well.
Correct.
So at the end, we have to be sincere.
So dharma comes from inside. Exactly.
That comes from
Only to a certain extent, others can impose it on you, watch you, right? Otherwise, because sincerity is something that nobody can really judge. Only you know how sincere you are, isn't it? Only I know how sincere I am. Others cannot judge. So if I'm cheating, then I'm cheating myself first. Before cheating others, I'm first cheating myself. Isn't it? I'm fooling myself. Right. I have a question from Puneet. I'll take Puneet's question first and then we will go back to Rajpreet. Puneet?
Sir, my question is, suppose a person is living in a very normal environment and he starts doing spirituality and dharmic things, and after he dies, he gets a new birth, and at a new birth, he goes into some.
He goes into new birth. He goes into what? Puneet, your audio
reward
has.
in a future life. Hello.
Hello,
Am I audible, sir?
you're audible, but your voice is cracked a bit.
Oh,
Can
so
you-
actually, I'm traveling right now.
You're
Yeah.
traveling. Okay. I appreciate you attending the class even when you're traveling. So please try again. Please try again.
Okay, so suppose a person is living a very normal life, and he starts doing dharma and karma, and goes went towards spirituality. And after his death, because of his good deeds, he gets some better rewardful life in future. And what if if he gets the place where he's not in a not touch with the dharmic environment next time? Suppose a person in who's dharma and karma in India, and the next time he's born in the US, which is far away from the spirituality and all these things. So is it can happen, or the Prakriti gives him the new life in the same kind of environment where he will they should be dharma and karma.
Yeah. So where we get our future birth. Yeah, I got your question. Yeah. So just to concisely express his question again, what if a person gets a birth in a different environment? He has done a lot of good karma and he has lived by dharma, he has accumulated a lot of punya. And then he takes birth in an environment where, there is not much dharma, there is not much punya going on. So is it necessary that a person who gets punya because of living by dharma should necessarily be born in a place where there is dharma again? I think in my understanding, it's a function of our desires and the karma that we have accumulated. Okay, for example, if somebody did a lot of dharma and accumulated punya, but their intention or motivation to do dharma was to be, eventually live in a place where there is a lot of material enjoyment, sensual enjoyment, and so on, then they will take birth there, right? So the what is given to us in a future birth is a function of both what we desire, why we are doing dharma, the motivation for doing dharma in the previous birth. That determines what we get in the next birth in accordance with the amount of karma that we have earned. So if somebody had done dharma thinking that I should keep doing dharma in all my lifetimes, I should keep elevating myself, eventually I should be, getting mukti, I should get mukti and come out of this world altogether. I should be a part of Vishnu loka. I should live with Vishnu. I should not have a material body ever again. Okay, if someone thinks like that, then they will go in that direction. But if someone just thinks that, for example, I should be born in the US, the US is a place to live. It's not India. I should not live in India. I should not be born again in India. Okay, so let me give a lot of money to the temples. Let me feed everybody. Let me give a lot of dhan because I want to be born in the US. If somebody thinks like that, then maybe if they have done that punya, maybe they will be born in the US and forget all about dharma in the future. But interestingly, I mean, since your question pertained to being born like that, I must say that a lot of people who are born in Western countries are attracted to our Samskriti.
Right.
And I have friends and I know people like that. Over the years, I've made friendships like that. I know people, I have one Guru Bhai, for example, who is a professor in Rutgers University. And he is a leading scholar in Indology. Indology is the study of India. The Westerners call that as Indology. Okay? Although I don't know, we don't call study of the US as USology or Americology or something, but they call it Indology. So he's a professor of Indology in Rutgers University, and he's a Hindu. I mean, he's actually an American, but he's now turned into a Hindu. He's come to India, and he comes to Vrindavan every year, spends 2-3 months there. He comes on some sabbatical. He takes some leave from his university and comes. He spends 2-3 months in India. He lives in a goshala and he does goseva. He comes and he takes care. He cleans the goshala. He removes the gobar. He puts it in the cart. He does goseva like any gwala will do, any cowherd does. He says, this is what I want to do. This is what is most interesting. He lives in a very small room. I've seen his life when he lives there in Vrindavan. Okay, he's from the US. So he's got access to, being a professor in a top university, and he's a well-recognized scholar. If you Google, you'll see his name. But he likes this life, and his dharma, whatever he has done in his past life, has developed in him this attraction to this life. So it's all, I think, it's complex. It's complex. There's no one simple answer to this. It's a function of what we desire in our consciousness, and it develops over lifetimes.
Got it, sir.
Rajpreet, can I take your question again?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, does Bhagavad-gita or any of the Hindu scriptures talk about dreams? Because I was thinking that also the momentary separation, if I may call it, from the physical body, physical brain, happens in dreams, where the subtle part of the unconscious mind, as we know it, takes the control. So, so what is there anything which talks about the dreams?
Yeah.
Is it
So-
just to give us some relief for the desires which get manifested in those dreams, or?
Yeah. So during the Swapnavastha, see, our Shastra describes that there are 4 states of existence we have, even in this birth. Primarily 3 states, and we can go to the 4th state also. It's possible to elevate ourselves to that 4th state. So the 3 states which we all experience in every cycle of 24 hours. Okay, in every cycle of 24 hours, all of us experience these 3 states. That is Jagriti, Swapna, and Sushupti. Jagriti is the state of wakefulness, that all of us now are in the state of wakefulness. Swapna is the dream state when we sleep. For some portion of that sleeping time, let's say we sleep for 7 hours. In those 7 hours, some part of that 7 hours, we are in the dream state, right? That is called Swapna, Swapnavastha. And Sushupti. Sushupti is the deep sleep. So during the state of Sushupti, we are completely cut off from our Linga Sharira also. Both our Linga Sharira and our, Indriyas. The Indriyas, the senses, are a part of our Linga Sharira. So whatever is a part of the Linga Sharira, we are detached from that also during the state of Sushupti. The Sushupti has some properties similar to the property of Mukti. In Mukti state also, the Turiya state, the 4th state, Samadhi, which is not experienced by us all the time, but it can be experienced if we elevate ourselves there. So Sushupti has some similarity with that. During Swapnavastha, we are conscious of that Linga Sharira. We become, we are detached from our Stula Sharira. We are no longer conscious of our identity as this. For example, I may not recollect when I'm dreaming that I am Ajit Kumar, I am a professor here, I am this. The identity which I adopt when I am in the Jagriti, in the state of Jagriti. So in that Swapnavastha, I can take any identity. I get all kinds of identities and I live through those identities. I experience all kinds of worlds. I go from this world, I go out of this world. So that's because of the Linga Sharira. I am in touch or experiencing the realm of the Linga Sharira there. Okay, so this much is what I know about how Swapna is described in our Shastra. But there is more in the Vedantic literature on Swapna. I can find out more for you in the coming time.
Sure, so that'll be great. So if you can dedicate one session, maybe after a few months, on dreams, so it'll be great.
Let me see if I can find out more, if I can study more and develop a better understanding. I will give you more. Sure. We'll do that.
Thank you so much. So, thank you.
Jayashree had something to say.
Yes, regarding Puneet's question, a thought crossed my mind. like his question was could be no very well answered with the 40th shloka of second chapter, wherein Bhagavan is telling that even if you do a little dharma, it doesn't get it is not destroyed. So you will you neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam vapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So you will get opportunity. Yeah. So I think that answers his question
That,
very
no,
well.
it-
Okay.
that shloka particularly is for yoga. It's not for samanya dharma.
Okay.
There Shri Bhagavan starts speaking about yoga, no? Because he says in the previous shloka, 2.39, Eshate abhita sankhye buddhi yoge tu imam
Hmm.
buddhir yoge tu imam shunu. Now I'm going to tell you about intelligence in yoga. And then he says, Neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little bit of this dharma that I'm now going to tell you, he's talking about yoga. He begins the concept of yoga there, in that 2.40.
Okay.
For that dharma, which takes the form of karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, etc., there that applies. Even a little bit of progress on the path will not be lost. It will continue to the next birth.
Okay. So connecting with Bhagavan at the most basic level also will continue in the next
Yes.
janma. That is
Connecting
what.
to Bhagavan in the path of yoga. Yoga means what? Yoga means one is in pursuit of one's spiritual identity. One wants to eventually get moksha, right? That is the path of yoga.
Okay.
Whereas Samanya Dharma is not looking for moksha. Samanya Dharma is only looking for a better material future, a better existence in this material universe. Okay, for those who are not yet developed the conviction about moksha. Only some
Okay.
people develop conviction about something called moksha. To other people, moksha looks unreal. But at least they get conviction that if I do punya, I'll get a better life in the future.
Okay.
That is Samanya Dharma.
Okay.
Yeah, is it Ian? Did I get the name correctly?
Right.
Yeah.
Ian,
Yeah.
the other professor,
Yes. Yeah. Subhashish, please ask your question.
Just one thing, I don't know if I got it wrong. And so we have discussed in the earlier sessions that if we do dharma, even the ultimate goal is detachment for everything, so that you're relieved of the cycle of birth and death, right, sir? So, but if I'm doing dharma with the intent of better things, like quote unquote better things, is it not like then the detachment, that the perceived detachment that one is seeking, uh, would that be a very objective or goal-driven thing to attain something material for a better life? Like so you mentioned about if somebody is desiring, let's say, a birth in the US, etc., then that detachment or the ultimate objective is defeated, isn't it? Or did I get it wrong, sir?
Absolutely. If somebody is pursuing Samanya Dharma, that is why the Bhagavad-Gita, it rejects Samanya Dharma. It speaks against Samanya Dharma because it's trying to advocate Parodharma. Bhagavad-Gita advocates this Parodharma, Moksha Dharma, and Bhakti, through Bhakti, right? Bhakti is a path to moksha. So, the other dharma where you want to get a material future, a better material future, is good only as long as you have not developed conviction in moksha. But for those who have developed conviction in moksha, those who can develop that conviction, then that dharma should be rejected. So shall we close for today? I think we have no more questions. I'll share the slide again. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Tad Vishno of Paramam Padagum Sada Pashyanti Surayah Divi Vachakshuratatam Tad Vipraso Vipanyavo Jagruvagum Sassamindhate Vishnor Yat Paramam Padam पर्याप्त्या अनन्तरायाय सर्वस्तमोतिरात्र उत्तममहर्भवति सर्वस्याप्त्यै सर्वस्य जित्यै सर्वमेव तेन आप्नोति सर्वं जयति। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। धन्यवादाः।